All right, how's it going, everyone? So, I wanted to try to build this Tower of Hanoi game in React. I think this is another good way to practice your React skills, and it's just something fun to practice your programming knowledge. So, if you don't know what this game is, it's basically you have three pillars, and one of the pillars starts with like all these cones, and your goal is to move all of the disks. I guess they're called disks, not cone. You move all these disks from one pillar and you try to get them all to be on C, right? So there's like a certain sequence of moves you have to do to get that going. And let's try to build that in React, where basically you can select on a tower and move the top disk to another tower. And I think this is going to be a good stress on like Reacts, or not a Reacts, but like arrays in JavaScript and how to kind of use arrays to keep track of those disks as they move. So let's move on to code. By the way, I'm listening to music as I code. This is like the first time doing that on my channel. So I know you guys can't hear the music, but I can. So hopefully it doesn't mess with my speaking abilities. Anyway, so let's just start simple. How do we get three towers, right? So let's just start with like a data structure. And I'll say towers and set towers. And this might not be the best solution, but this is what we're going to start with. And what we could basically do is we could keep track of the height of the towers maybe. So like this could be a height of 3, 0, 0. And we're just going to go ahead and import useState. And the goal is for every element of this array, let's try to draw out a tower. So using the .map function, we're going to go ahead and render out the tower height. And let's just make a div right now, like this. And I'll just put the tower height here. So this should hopefully put three numbers on the page. And if I look at the page here, we have three numbers. Now, obviously, we want to have them like side by side. So you could use like a CSS grid or flexbox. So let's just go ahead and put like a class name on here. I'll say class name is tower. And inside of this CSS file, let's just go ahead and style this with flex. So display a flex. And I think that should put them, actually, let me say flex direction. Is there an extension for CSS IntelliSense? I thought CSS IntelliSense is supposed to work in VS Code out of the box. So I'm not sure if maybe my configuration is just wrong. Let me load up my config file. And how do you do that? You go to this, and let's just go ahead and put this in here. I don't know if that'll do the trick, but usually like you have the ability to like, here we go. So to be honest, I use so much tailwind CSS that I don't even remember how to do like flexbox. So I'm gonna have to Google this. It is flex direction. Okay, so flex, now I get that IntelliSense going and I can say row, I believe. But I think flexbox is supposed to be a row by default. So I think I need to put the flex in a parent wrapper. So I'll just go ahead and put like a towers here, like this, and I'll put all those towers inside of that. There we go. Took me a while to make 3 towers. So let's just add some padding. I think you can add like gap between these maybe. Maybe this is a tailwind thing. Let's just try gap at 10 pixels. Yeah, that works. Anyway, so what I'm trying to do is like I want to draw 3 lines that are vertical. And then we want to put the disks from starting from like a big disk all the way to a small disk. So how would we put a disk? We might be able to do like a pseudo selector and just put like an after or something, or inside the tower itself, like we could put another. I'll put like a line. At this point, I don't even know what I'm doing, but the tower, a line, this could be like height of 100 pixels, width of 1 pixel, background of white. There, we got some lines that go up. Let's add more gap. Like this, and let's load up our DevTools. We do have an error that we need to add a key. I'll just put the key as the index because we don't really have another unique identifier. All right, refresh the page, the error goes away. So I kind of want to inspect this element a little bit. And there's not much like clicking space. Like I guess eventually like we could make a cursor over here. So we could say like cursor is pointer. So now we don't have much space to actually like click on this thing. So really what I should probably do maybe we can just put some padding on it. So padding left of like 20 pixels and padding right of 20 pixels. That's not really what I wanted, but I guess it works. Let me think about what I'm trying to do. So I have the tower, and that's going to be the thing that we want to be able to click, right? So let's go ahead and move that to its own styling like this. And now we can actually click on the tower. And when you hover over it, I'll say like tower hover, and we're going to kind of apply a styling change to the line, and I'll make the line like background of red so that you know you're actually hovering over it, and that's the one you're going to click. Yeah, so we got 3 towers. We have these numbers, which doesn't really make sense. What we want to do is we want to show some disks. So how would we show some disks? I don't know. What we probably want to do is, depending on the height of the tower, we want to start creating DOM elements using the map function from bottom to top and make the size of those shrink. So we have the line here, but maybe we could make like a class called disk. Is it with a C or a K? I don't even know. Who cares? And we're going to go ahead and just put, we'll say like, here's a little hack you can do. You can do like new array, and then we'll say tower height. And I believe you can just spread it on an array, and you'll get like a bunch of things. You might not even need to do this. I think, let me just try something real quick. I'm going to console log this and see what we get. Tower height is not defined. Oh, let's just do 3 here. So we get undefined, 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 which is cool. I think that's fine, as long as we can actually map over that. I think if you don't do the spread of the array, and you do like a map, I don't know if it actually does anything. Empty times 3, that's weird. So if I spread that, we get 3 through 3. Yeah, so you do need to spread it, or else you get this weird like empty array. So instead, I'm going to do the spread here. And for every element, we are going to just go ahead and do another map function. And we don't even care about what's inside of it. We just want to tell React to render 3 times, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and return a div here, like so. And we're just going to go ahead and put a 0. So that should put 3 disks on the tower. Now we could style this and make it look really nice. Instead of doing this here, I'm going to go ahead and move this up like this. We'll put a disk there, and we're going to style that disk a little bit. So I'm going to say disk, and I'm going to say height is 50 pixels. Background is blue. We'll just make them all blue. How about that? And width can be like 100 pixels starting off. Now the idea is, as you get higher in the index, you need to shrink them down. So I don't know what a good thing to do here. I'm just going to go ahead and like put an index here. Do that. And then I'm going to go ahead and just make an inline style. And I'm going to say width is the index times, so starting off at the top, you want it to be small, and then starting at the bottom, you want it to be larger. How do you want to do this? I mean, we could just do like times it by 10 plus 10 for right now and see what happens. Now I do believe we're going to have to like attach a pixels at the end of that. So that'll make them kind of like shrink. I don't know if that's exactly what we want, because we're going to run out. Like once we get like a tower size of 4 or 5, it's going to run out. Maybe it's fine. Let's try this. Yeah, that works fine. I think the height's a little bit too much, so I'm going to go height. I'm going to change it to 20. That's probably too much too. I'll go to this, and then I'll say margin bottom. You know, we could actually, on the tower itself, I'm going to wrap this whole thing into disks like this. And we're going to make this have a flex box as well. So display a flex, and flex direction is column. That should do the same thing. It should stack them all. And I think by default, if I just use divs, it would have stacked them as well. But we also want to like center these things, right? So I'm going to go ahead and put like justify content center. I believe that'll put them in the center, maybe. Maybe it's a line item center. Here it is. I always forget what it is. I'll just say align items center, and that should center them all. So the stack is looking pretty good. Now what we could also do is add some gap of like 4 pixels, and that'll, you know, put some gap between them. Now we could probably do some type of positioning for this line to make it be like absolute positioning or something. We haven't really done much React code yet in this video. It's mainly a bunch of styling and stuff. But for the line itself, I'm going to give the tower a position of relative. And the reason I'm doing that is so I can give the line a position of absolute. And that will allow me to position the line using like left and stuff. I think you could also do like a transform, translate, 50%, 50%. Is that how you do it? I haven't really actually done this in a while. Like if you don't want to give that an absolute positioning, I don't know what I'm doing. I'll just go ahead and say like left of 50 pixels, whatever. Look at the tower here. Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit off, and we could probably make it go higher. I'm gonna make it position to the bottom and then the left. Go ahead and move it to the left a little bit. So there's different ways you can do this. If you can, in the comments, leave a comment if you know a better way. I'm pretty sure you could do a transform, translate. But this works until you start scaling the page down, then it probably won't work. I also want to give this a z index to make it behind. Using -1 is typically not like a good idea, I don't think, but whatever. So now we got 3 towers. And one thing I'll notice is that this tower size is a little bit bigger than the other one. So I would like to make the tower like a static size, I think. So I'm going to give it like width of 200 pixels so that they're all, that's too much. I think I'm zoomed in a lot. Yeah. So this is the issue with having like this hard-coded left, because like, this is why I hate CSS. You spend so much time just trying to get something simple. So if I gave this thing an absolute positioning, is there a way to center it without having it affect the layout of disks? Absolute positioning, center inside parent. That's with like a transform or something. Margin left auto, margin right auto. I am the content. Someone says you can, oh, here it is. Transform, translate, negative left. Let me try this. I knew it was something like this. I don't know if this is the right way to do it though. There you go. So now as I scale down the page, like if I were to switch this and like scale it, I think it's responsive now. Well, kind of. The towers are kind of messed up. But anyway, let's get to the fun part with the JavaScript. So basically what we want to do is when you click on this one, you want to kind of have it selected. So we'll change it to like yellow when you select it. I think there's some like overlay issues going on. It's fine. You have to actually hover like over this area for some reason instead of the absolute tower. I should probably give like the tower a height of 200 instead. Okay, whatever. I'm wasting too much time with this. So when you select the left tower, you want to keep track of that in React state, right? So let's just go back to the actual React code, and this is where we're getting into the fun stuff. You want to keep track of selected tower and set selected tower. And then we're going to say use state, and we're just going to keep track of an index here. So in this case, we're going to say undefined. You can also just leave it blank. And when you click on one of the towers, so I'm going to go ahead and say like on click, we're going to go ahead and write some code to like handle selecting that. I'll say const or function handle select tower. And we're going to keep track of the index. And we'll say set selected tower of index like this. And we're going to go ahead and just call that function with the index. So when you click on a tower, we keep track of the one that's been clicked. We want to make this a number. And we also want to make this a state of a number or undefined. I think you can also say a question mark here. No? Okay. Sorry, my head's kind of blocking that. Anyway, so when you click on a tower, you want to select that one and keep track of the one you have clicked. But we also want to style it a little bit differently if you've selected it. So what we could do is we could dynamically add a class name of selected here. So we'll change this to an interpolation. And we're just going to concat. This is like a hacky way to do it. We're going to go ahead and just concat in selected tower. If that's equal to your current index, then we want to basically add in a selected. I guess you could do this. This is another way you can do it. Condition will always return false since the string and numbers have no overlap. Do I need to add parentheses around this? There we go. Honestly, I would bring in the class names library to make this a little bit cleaner instead of doing this like little hacky approach to it. But I mean, this works. So the idea is I want to check it by basically saying if you have a tower selected, we're going to make the line background of yellow. How about that? So now I should be able to click on a tower, and now it's selected. Okay. And now when I click on another tower, it should move the tower that you have selected onto the other one that you clicked. Okay, so we're going to take this logic to the next step. I'm going to say if we've already have a selected tower, then we need to do something. Otherwise, we're just going to select the tower. So on the first click, basically, we're going to select the tower. But then on the next click, we need to move the clicked tower onto the next one. I don't know if that made sense, but basically we're going to say, we're going to move like the 5, we're going to decrement the 5, and we're going to put it here. So this will become like a 1, this will become a 4. Okay. So let's just go ahead and say set towers. Actually, let me show you a little trick. You could say like new towers is equal to the spread of towers. And then I'm going to say towers of the previous index. I'll say selected tower is going to be minus minus, and then towers of IDX plus plus. So I'm actually going to rename this to selected tower index to make it a little bit more apparent of what we actually, I'm going to call it clicked tower index. A little bit more verbose, but I think it describes what's going on. And let me rename this to handle clicked tower. Okay. This one I'm going to rename as well. I think you can just do like an, is it F2? There it is. Selected tower index, set selected tower index. So I'm going to rename these things and make it more verbose, but it makes it clearer, I believe, for someone who's like reading the code instead of just saying IDX. Doesn't really explain much. Also, I could do this one, like say tower index. There we go. It's always good to look at your code to make sure you're not like doing something sloppy. Like this one could be called disk index. There we go. A little bit cleaner. You can argue that it's kind of pointless to do. But hey, so what were we trying to do originally? This is what we're trying to do. I got carried away with refactoring. We're just trying to decrement the one that you previously had selected. You want to increment the new index that you just clicked. And then we're going to go ahead and set the selected tower index back to undefined. I'll say undefined here. And that should kind of unselect the one we just had selected. There's going to be some edge cases that are going to break. Oh, we also need to set the new selected towers like this. Now, the reason this will work is because we're passing a new array reference here in the React setter, which will cause React to re-render, and it should basically work. Again, people argue that you shouldn't use mutations in React, but I think this is fine, personally. So I'm going to click on this tower, and then I'm going to click on this one, and let's see what happens. I think it did crash. We get some warnings. Let's actually fix the warnings real quick. Each child in list should have a key. So where is this one's missing a key. I'll just put disk index here. Refresh the page. I'll click on this one, then I'll click on that one. And what's happening behind the scenes? Because it should have taken the number here and moved it here. So what you can do is, if you're confused why something's not working, slap a debugger keyword there and refresh your page. Click on this. And now we have the code stopped. Now I believe it's kind of cut off on my editor. So the first time you click it, click tower index is 0. So the very first tower is clicked. If we step through, we haven't selected a tower index yet, right? Now there is an issue. You can put 0. So I already found my issue, I believe. If tower index is not equal to undefined, okay, we're going to be explicit about this because 0 could potentially be something we care about because we're dealing with indexes here. So I'm going to make that explicit. I'm going to refresh the page. Let me remove the debugger and try again. Click on this, click on that. Again, nothing happens. So let's just put that debugger back, refresh the page, click on this one, and that should select that one. So click tower index 0, that selected tower index, and then I'm going to click on the middle one, and it should get to this one. Okay, so it gets into here, new towers is equal to ... towers. And then we're going to go ahead and look at our code. Now the issue is I'm modifying the old state up here, which is not my intent. My intent was I should modify the new towers that we're doing. So again, going back to the code, little mistake there, save that. And I believe this should fix the issue. So I'm going to refresh the page, click on this, click on that, and then click on this and click on that. Now the issue is I think we're rendering from the top down. If you look at this disk, these disks should be, instead of, I think I just need to bottom align them. So if I look at disks, I believe this has align items, center, and justify content should be bottom or end, maybe? No? So this one has to be center. This one, justify content end. I mean, that should work. Let's try height 100%. Okay, there we go. So disks, let's find disks. I'm going to say height of 100% here. And refresh the page. Let's try this again. So click on this, click on that. Still not working. Why is it not working? Because I think I need to justify content as well. So justify content end. All right, so click this, click that. Click this and click that. Now I think I'm actually doing it wrong. So now that I think about the problem, I didn't take enough time to actually realize the problem is that we need to keep track of not just the numbers inside of here, right? So like we can't just keep track of 5. We have to keep track of like we're gonna have to keep track of, I think, more than that. Like this is gonna have to keep track of like the size of the disks. So we might need to add a 2D array in here, which is going to get a lot more complicated. I was hoping I can kind of do this without having to add a 2D array. Probably better. So I'm actually going to put empty arrays in here. So it's a 2D array of empty arrays. And this first array is going to have the width of the disks. So it's going to start, it's going to be 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. And the idea is you take the very last element and you're going to take that and pop it off and push it into whatever. So the logic here is just going to change instead of decrementing, incrementing. We're going to say new towers of the selected index is going to be a, I think it's a pop. I'll say popped disk like this. And we're going to push the popped disk into the new towers. I guess we should also add some error handling. So like if new towers.length is less than 0, then return, I guess. Okay, it's complaining because this thing could potentially be undefined. I'm gonna course it to be true. Let's think about this. So basically when you click on a tower and then you click on a new one, it's gonna pop off the one and then it pushes it here. I think it'll work. Although what's this stuff? Oh, I changed, this is no longer a number. So what we're gonna have to do here is we can actually just say tower height. Okay, this is actually going to get renamed to disks. And then this one can be disks.map. And then the width is going to be based on the disk number instead of the index. Now it's backwards. Why is it backwards? Disk number. Because we're rendering 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Why did I do that? Let's try it this way. Okay, so it's just a matter of, I think I'm kind of messing up the ordering. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we need to loop through this thing backwards, I believe. So reverse. Let me refresh the page. What am I not understanding here? It's because, okay, so 5, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to put inside of here, I'm going to put the disk number so we can actually like know. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So it's rendering correctly. And when I click on this one and click on this one, it should have taken the 1 off. It's taken the 5 off. Is it because I shouldn't be using pop? Should I be using unshift? Or shift? Okay, cool. So you can push that one over there. You can push that one there. This one can go here. But that one's not supposed to go there. So I'm going to add some edge handling or error handling to not allow you to click on a disk who is lower, right? So if, before we do all this stuff, we're going to say like, if the very last one, new towers.length -1, if that number is greater than the new towers, I'm just going to say towers, towers dot licked tower index. I know this code is getting kind of overwhelming. I need to refactor it, but I just want to get this working. So if the one that you have selected, which is basically the same as this one, selected tower index, the very top one, the very last one, so the 1, if the 1 is greater than the one you're about to place onto, this is so confusing. All right, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna say const selected tower is equal to this. Const clicked tower is equal to towers dot clicked tower index. Just to kind of make this code a little bit easier to read. And we're gonna say get the selected tower, and then we're gonna get the very last one. So selected tower dot length -1. And then we're gonna say clicked tower click tower.length -1. If those are greater, then we just want to return. Like, don't allow them to put a bigger number on top of a small number. I don't know if that logic's correct. It seems good, but I do need to just go ahead and set this to undefined here. So click on this, click on that. Click on this and click on that, it doesn't work. Click on this, click on that, it doesn't work. Click on this, click on that one, it works. Click on this one, click on that one, it doesn't work. Why did that just do the wrong one? So this allows you to do it, but it's like rendering backwards for some reason. So I think the way we're pushing it, it should probably be unshift. Maybe. Well, this is a fun problem. Okay, let's think about this. If the selected tower, this would be like, this would be 1. If 1 is greater than the one you just clicked, so if I clicked, it would be undefined, potentially, which could be part of the reason, which I should probably just default it to 0. And I'm going to add a debugger because I'm just like getting so confused here. So click on the 1, click here. I'll click play. And then I'm going to click on the 2 and click on the 1. Is that going to allow me to move it? Selected tower has a 2. Click tower has a 1. Go ahead and look at this code. So I'm trying to put the 2 on the 1 and it just doesn't let me do that. So it's going to say set the selected to undefined, and it goes, so if I do the 1 onto the 2, it should allow me. And then if I do that, it pushes the 1 on the wrong. So yeah, I think this needs to be unshift. Let's just try it again. I think this is working fine now. So I shouldn't be able to put the 3 on either of these. I can put the 1 here, put the 3 here, put the 1 back over here, put the 2 on that, put the 1 on that. Okay, wait. Why can't I do that? So this is where I want to add the debugger. I think I can just do this and say 1 to 2. In the selected tower, let's look at this. Selected tower says 1, 4, 5. The click tower is 2, 3. And I think I don't need to do length of 0. I think I want to do just 0 here. Maybe. I am also going to do this. Okay, that didn't work either. Come on. Select the tower 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the first index is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we should be taking the 1, and then the clicked one would be 0. Is 1 greater than 0? Might need to swap the ordering there. At this point, I'm just guessing by faith right now. I'm just trying things and hoping it works. Which is not a good way to code. Bro. All right, let's go. Let's try doing this. So this one should not work. So select the tower of index 0 is 2. Okay. If this is greater than the click tower. Yeah, so I think it should be greater than. I think maybe I just need to default this like something really big. Okay, now I'm just hacking this thing. I'm just hacking this thing. Okay, I cannot move the 2 onto the 1. That's good. I can move the 1 into the 2. Can I move the 3 on top of that? Can't. So I'm going to move the 3 here. Put the 1 here. I'm going to put the 1 here. 2 on there. So I think it's working. Kind of hacky, but whatever. Put there 3, 2. Okay. So obviously the game's over when you get 5 things here. So I mean, you could just add like a little edge case. Let me just do this real quick. Let me get 3. And we're going to make it the game end if, I'm going to say if the clicked tower that length is greater than or equal to, I don't know, num disks is 3. So if the clicked tower's ending length is greater than or equal to 3, then I will say alert, you win. There, how about that? And then I'm also gonna go like, I'm just gonna do this. It's good enough. So let's try it really quick. Put the 1 there, put the 2 there, 1 there, 3 there, 1. Guess we have to do. There. So I think that I solved it. That was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. Probably because I just jumped into it, started coding, didn't really solve the problem. So some key takeaways from watching me do this, if you've managed to stick around for 40+ minutes, is always sit down and try to solve the problem on paper before you start coding, right? And make sure your logic is good. At this point, doing some type of test-driven development might have actually made this a little bit easier because the logic is a little bit complex. This thing is just screaming hacky code, so I'm not really a big fan of what I did here, but I'm out of mental capacity to really think about refactoring this code anymore. The styling you could definitely improve on, and you could find better ways to like make this user-friendly. Like for some reason, I can only click on this area and not up here, so that's obviously not cool. But overall, I mean, I think this is a good practice problem for beginners, and it was even a good practice problem for me, which is actually a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. But if you enjoyed watching this, be sure to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, click the bell icon. Also, feel free to join my Discord if you want to ask questions, or if you're stuck with React or JavaScript. We got people there willing to help you out if you're stuck. And like always, have a good day and happy coding.